About 2 minutes ago, I realized and decided that there is really no need for me to be doing that intro that I've been doing to the podcast. Welcome to episode whatever with today's guest, whoever, or whatever the topic is, if it's a solo one. Because if you're listening to this, you're pretty smart, which means you can read and you can read the title and know who it is or what episode number it is, and kind of just waste of 15 seconds. So I just realized that, and I was like, I don't need to do that anymore, and I can't even recall why I did do that. I guess I just thought it was like a thing to do or what you should do from the beginning, and I just did that. And it's okay to realize that you were doing things that didn't quite make sense, no matter how long that it takes. So take that analogy for whatever it is. But we're just getting right into episodes, and guest episodes from here on out are going to be the same way. It saves me like 10 seconds of editing whatever time as well, and doesn't add anything or doesn't take away anything from not including it in the episode either. All that being said, just felt the need to explain myself there and give a little analogy. It's okay to change the things that you're doing. The episode that went out earlier this week was an amazing episode with Dr. Ashley Dwyer, all about PCOS, which was super informative to me personally, because as a man, I don't deal with that, and I have no personal experience with that. I've had a number of clients who have dealt with PCOS, none currently, and my clients currently skew more male than female, like 60-40, maybe 65-35 male to female. But it's extremely common thing that many women deal with. Anyways, go listen to that if that appeals to you, and if you're a dude listening to this, most likely, if there's women in your life who deal with that. But anyways, that episode went out this week, and I was like, we should, it's so female focused that we maybe get someone for the guys here as well. And so I asked Grok, and I use Grok instead of ChatGPT for two reasons. I just asked Grok, like, hey, what are the five biggest struggles that men kind of like, 25 to 45 are experiencing? Because Grok can scrape X for posts, and so get a sense of what people are saying. And I just like Grok's answers better than ChatGPT on average. And so I asked it, I was curious, and then again, just, to balance out the femaleness of last episode. And maybe next time that there's a guest where we talk about like very male dominant stuff, I'll do like a female version of this, and I would, spoiler alert, I bet it's going to be like pretty close to the same, but I'll frame it in more of a female sense, which is kind of something I'll talk about kind of towards the end here. But anyways, I'm going to give the 5 things. So I asked Grok, what are the 5 things that men 25 to 45 are struggling with the most in their fitness, and rank them. And it gave me 5 things, and I'm going to tell you what it said to me, and I will go through each of them, kind of talk about them, give some thoughts, give some context, give some nuance, and give some potential solutions as well. So number 1 was time constraints and family or work responsibilities. Pretty reasonable. Shouldn't be that surprising. I mean, time is often the number one complaint. I'll frame it as this. No one in their right mind should have fitness as the number one priority in your life. You should not be skipping out on work, quitting your job, that kind of stuff, or being a bad parent, not being present for your kids, for your wife, for your girlfriend, for whoever, in order to go to the gym. Or to like do meal prep. Like, don't be an asshole because you need to meal prep. Don't be an asshole because you need to be like fitness. Like there are other things that are priority number 1 in your life. So fitness does need to be among the priorities in your life, just because, health is important. And if you're not healthy for yourself, like, you can't even be healthy there to provide and to be of service and to be of any help or any fun or anything to anyone else if you can't even be here. But it shouldn't be number 1. So you don't need to be putting these things off. Now, it is a legitimate concern. There's only so many hours in the day. We're tired. We've all got a lot going on. But also, we have to deal with it. We have to find a way around this. So the best way around this is that understanding that short workouts are okay, and that you don't need to necessarily be in the gym every single day. I strongly believe that, to the absolute best of our ability, we should be exercising every single day. That doesn't mean lifting weights, and it doesn't mean lifting weights in a gym every single day. Exercise can just be going for a walk. It can be going for a run. It can be doing a little stretch session at home. It can be doing some band pull-aparts and those like micro workouts, which is maybe something you've heard me talk about before, but you get a band, put at your desk, do like 10 band pull-aparts every 45 minutes or something like that, accumulate 100 to 200 throughout the day, little micro workouts. And it doesn't have to be band pull-aparts. It could be squats, it could be push-ups, it could be anything. But you need to exercise in some way every day to the absolute best of your ability. As far as your actual workouts, short workouts are just as effective, and sometimes in a roundabout way, more effective than longer workouts. And this is what I mean. I've had a number of clients who have come to me and said that they only have 30 minutes or 40, 45 minutes tops in the gym, like in and out 45 minutes. Like, great, that's fine. We can work with that. And they still make incredible progress. Why? It's not because an hour and a half workout is better. If you have like an hour and a half legitimately, like, great, but by all means, go for it. But very often people will spend more time in the gym and then they do stuff like they're kind of just wasting time. And that's, taking too long of rests between sets. They're talking to people. They're just dilly-dallying around in the gym. Or even worse than that is they're kind of like just doing a lot of different exercises in the gym and doing a lot of stuff, but you kind of keep it at a bit of a lower intensity because you're saving it for later in the workout. Whereas very often the people who are very driven and they're like, again, hey, I've got 30, 45 minutes tops in the gym. They get in, we hit bench press, hit pull-ups, we hit some bent over rows, and we hit like some push-ups. Boom, in and out, intense. They hit it hard, and so their training intensity is like pretty high, and they stick to the basics, as in what are the exercises that are going to give me the most bang for my buck, or my time rather, instead of worrying about doing 3 different types of bicep curls and this type of rotation and that angle of this. It's like, nope, I've got to be in there, I've got to be efficient, and I've got to be intense. And that intensity and efficiency of exercise selection and programming is what leads to actual better results. Now, you can obviously replicate this in a longer workout, but you have to stick to the plan rather than getting caught up in the fact that you have more time, and so you have more time available to like do silly things and saving yourself for later in the workout, which is not how it works. You got to push hard. And so if you can find, if shortening the duration of your workout is the thing that leads you to increase the intensity of your workouts, that might actually help you make more progress. And so know that if time is an issue for you, short workouts are definitely okay and maybe even better. You're not going to be like not making progress because you can't spend tons of time in the gym. And not to mention, even if your short workouts like kind of suck, doing that is still going to be better than doing nothing at all. So you can't be letting the limited time that you have be a reason to not go. Like, it's better to do 10 or 15 minutes than it is to do 0. So whatever time you do have available, get it in there. Another thing, you got to get super clear on your schedule, or as clear as possible at least. Of course, there's always going to be, stuff that comes up, especially with kids. I mean, I don't have kids of my own yet, but there's going to be randomness that comes up through the day. You have to do your best to not get blindsided by stuff. Like, don't forget about appointments. Don't let things come up at the last minute, things that you should have known about. Let the random stuff exist, and it's going to be there and it's going to happen, and you've got to adjust to that on the fly. But for everything else that you can control, like, control that in your schedule, know when those things are going to be, and plan around them. And again, just getting clearer on your schedule is just going to help you be able to fit these things in regards to your health and fitness. The last thing that I'll make note of here, and this is something that like I've really worked on implementing over the last 8 to 10 months or so, is just, and this will sound kind of silly and not fitness related, and it's actually not fitness related, just time management, but like just getting little things done. If there's like some task around the house or some task for work or some thing that you need to do that's like will literally take you 5 to 10 minutes, it's very easy, and I fall into this trap as well, to like, oh, I'll do it later. But then you could just do it right now and get it out of your head. And the clearing up of that headspace, closing that loop of that thing that you've been wanting to do, like, oh, you got to change the light bulb in the bedroom. Like, it's not that important of a thing, and it will only take you 3 minutes to do it. But just do it, get it done, get it out of your head, and clear up that headspace so that you can use it to focus on more important things, and including your exercise, including your work, and including your family time. You want to be present, and that also helps with time management. So that's my spiel on the time stuff. Is be okay with short workouts, get in, get out, be intense about it. Get some basic equipment at home if you need to, like go to the closest gym, and those kind of simple things. Get really clear on your schedule and just like get little things out of the way as fast and as soon as possible. Item number 2, according to Grok, is physical decline. Muscle loss, declining metabolism, and declining testosterone are the 3 things that it kind of attributed to this physical decline. A little bit strange, maybe this is the imperfectness of AI chatbots / the way that I prompted it somehow, which is probably more the case. These things are only as smart as you want them to be. And kind of strange in the sense that like all of these things will be improved by your fitness. So the fact that it's a limiter or a challenge is like a little bit odd, but on one hand, I get it. The muscle loss thing, there's a common phrasing that goes around that you start to lose muscle after 30, and this is for men and for women, but start to lose muscle after 30, and we call it sarcopenia, like 1% per year, something like that. I'm not entirely convinced that this is a true thing at all. I think it just happens because typically after 30, you start moving less, exercising less, and then that's what happens. There's no reason why you can't build or maintain your muscle in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond if you keep doing the things to build and maintain muscle. So your muscle is metabolically costly. If you think of your body as a business, it's like a division of your body that requires funding. It requires caloric energy. And so if you're not using it and there's no need for your body doesn't see a need for it, it's going to just get rid of it. So the loss of muscle probably contributes in a roundabout way to like a loss of body confidence, and then you don't want to go to the gym, and it's this like downward spiral, even though going to the gym and being on your fitness game is going to be the thing that brings you up. So that the same with metabolism. Metabolism does not decline in your 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe in your late 60s, 70s. It starts to decline a little bit, and we know this through research. The thing that declines is your movement. You don't play sports, you don't go out anymore, you don't do stuff, you exercise less, you probably eat a little bit more slowly, and so your metabolism, quote unquote, seems to decline, but it's not declining. You're just doing less stuff. It's just not this drastic fall off a cliff. It's a slow decline over a number of years, and it hits some threshold where you start to notice it, and all of a sudden you look down at your belly and you've gained 30 pounds. You're like, well, where did this come from? Well, it didn't happen yesterday. It happened over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years. So your metabolism doesn't slow down either. It's your exercise activity levels, so you probably don't play sports with the boys anymore. You maybe work out less. You're just generally less active. You're more at work, more home with with family and these things, and you eat a little bit more. Your testosterone does decline, and it probably starts around 30-ish. However, you can at least slow the decline, and you can at least slow the decline if you're like living a lifestyle that supports a healthy level of testosterone. And if your testosterone is already low because you're not living a lifestyle that supports it, you can increase your testosterone easily by improving your lifestyle in your 20s, 30s, and 40s even. Probably even into your 50s as well. So, I mean, these things, I understand how they kind of like contribute to loss of motivation and maybe not wanting to do things and that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like going to the gym, being fit, exercising, eating well, sleeping well, living the healthy lifestyle, so to speak, these are the things that are going to reverse that. So you can sit there and complain about being 37 and my metabolism's slow and my testosterone's low and I'm losing muscle, and like that doesn't help you. Or you can say, these things are happening, maybe I should change my behavior to do things that are conducive to these things not happening. So I'm here to tell you that these things they're not a death sentence. You're not doomed. You can do things to improve them, and the faster you start doing those things, the easier it's going to be rather than sitting there and complaining. Just to make a note on TRT, or testosterone rather, TRT is becoming like far more common and like way more openly spoken about and stuff these days, which is good and bad. Good because it's good to have open discussions, bad because it makes people like lean on it as a crutch, and like they're far too quick to lean into it. And most people are like, they're using, what we call maybe sport TRT or TRT plus. So they're not using necessarily like maintenance or replacement doses. These are like performance enhancing dosages of testosterone, which, do your thing. But that's probably not solving the thing that you think it is. Not to mention, if you don't sleep well, if you don't train, and you don't train well, don't train well, and you don't eat well, just taking testosterone and like doing the same shitty stuff that you're currently doing is not going to help you. It's not a the fountain of youth. It doesn't work like that. You still got to change these behaviors, and in fact, changing those behaviors first, one, will improve your testosterone or increase your testosterone rather, and two, it will make the TRT, if you do decide and need to go down that route medically and supervised and all that stuff, way more effective. So you can't just think like, I'm 42, I should probably just like start using TRT. Well, are you sleeping well? Are you training often? Are you training well? Are you eating well? If you're doing all those things and you're still very symptomatic and your tests show that you're low testosterone, then that's definitely a conversation to have with your doctor. But if you're 31, you're like, hey man, I'm over 30 now, my testosterone's declining. I just don't feel like I don't have the same pep in my step as I used to. I should probably start taking TRT. You probably shouldn't. You should probably work on fixing your sleep, fixing your training, fixing your nutrition, and then all things will fall into place. So kind of a strange one, again, on the struggle, like becoming fit and doing all the healthy lifestyle things are going to fix those things. But I understand it, how it impacts our psychology, which is a pretty important thing. Number 3 here. I'm just going to get a sip of water. Number 3 is poor dietary habits. Surprise, surprise. It was interesting that it specifically lists in like the explanation of the thing, and it gave some posts that like were relative to it and stuff, but specifically lists that a lot of guys in that age group are struggling with old habits that they may have developed in their early 20s, and namely drinking and eating takeout as things that you do like maybe in college, or just, in your early 20s, you're going out more, you're going out with your buddies and you're just doing stuff, and you kind of like, you feel like you get away with it, and then it catches up to you in your late 20s, 30s, 40s. And this goes hand in hand with the myth of the decreased metabolism. Like, it doesn't catch up to you. Your lifestyle changes. So maybe you're eating takeout a couple times a week and like drinking more in your early 20s, but you're also playing pickup basketball with the boys. You're playing beer league hockey. You were even going out and going to bars and stuff. If you're dancing, or if you're just like out walking, and maybe you didn't even have a car, then you're walking around college, like your activity is so much higher, and you're maybe working out more. Now, when you stop doing all those things, but you keep the eating and drinking habits, well, what do you think is going to happen? It's not dissimilar to how we see pro athletes get like fat and out of shape after their career. When you're a pro athlete and you're training like an animal, 7, 10, 15 times a week, yeah, you can get away with eating a lot. And in fact, you need to eat a ton just to maintain your weight and keep your body healthy. And then when you retire and you stop training like that and you keep eating like that, well, yeah, I mean, there's going to be an imbalance there. So the poor dietary habits, like you gotta ditch those early 20s habits. If you develop those, you got to get rid of those, and it's time to like grow up and be an adult. And the biggest thing I can say about that is you need to develop some basic cooking skills. I promise you, it is not difficult, and it's not even that time consuming. You're not going to be a gourmet chef, but it's not that difficult. You just need some basic skills, and it's going to save you a ton. Like, cooking your food at home is probably the biggest like nutrition hack there is, because you're not going to be eating like deep fried stuff and all kinds of junk. Like, what are you going to cook? What are you going to eat if you cook at home? Like, typically like decently healthy stuff, and at minimum it's going to be better, significantly better than eating fast food takeout all the time. And if time is a thing for you and you just don't want to, part of me is like, hey man, just like suck it up and like figure this out. But the other side of it is like, there are so many meal prep companies now. Every city and make a major area has them, and they're all regional, so I'm not going to sit out here and give recommendations. Also, no free sponsorships. But No, I don't even use any myself, so I couldn't even think of one off the top of my head. But these things exist. They're pretty good. I have clients who use them. They're relatively cheap, and I'm always, frankly, shocked at like how cheap they are. Like, it's not more expensive than it's like cheaper than like regular takeout. So you'll even save money if you're just like Uber Eatsing, nonsense. So you'll save money at that, and it's very convenient and like, healthy and all that stuff. So use one of those meal prep services if you really don't want to cook. But I mean, just stick to whole foods. Be honest with yourself about the stuff you're eating. Don't buy junk food. Don't buy alcohol. Like, don't buy these things and stock them in your house and just keep them around if you have trouble with moderation and trouble saying no to them. And, 8:45 p.m. rolls around and you're like, I think I kind of want something. Like, well, if you have something there, then maybe you're going to grab it. So get it out of the house, get rid of it. Don't make it don't tempt yourself with it if you haven't got over the hump of just being able to ignore it. And listen, you still go out with your boys, still go out and have fun. You can still have a couple drinks. You can still eat some, junk food here and there, but it's just got to be in moderation. You can't be doing it the same way you were doing it when you were 21 if you're 31 or 41. You've got to be, unless everything else is matching it, which, I mean, hopefully your life has evolved since you were 21 and you're not doing all the same stuff you were doing at 21 when you're 31 or 41. So just keep in mind that like your dietary habits need to change along with your lifestyle, and you need to get out of the idea of being a child. It's time to grow up. It's time to either make some decisions about learning how to cook and figuring that out, or using a meal prep company and just getting this sorted. Nutrition science, really complicated. Eating healthy, really, really simple. One of the best quotes from episode maybe 10 of this podcast by my good buddy Matt Buson, Coach Boss, shout out. But so true. Eating healthy, really, really simple. You just got to do it. So grow up, figure this out, get it done. Number 4, mental health and motivation. Grok specifically mentioned along this, obviously this is a huge umbrella of things. It said stress, anxiety, and low motivation, gym judgment, and negative body image, and a lack of immediate rewards all dampen motivation and have negative implications on mental health. So pretty legit. I mean, not pretty legit. Legit, obviously, mental health is obviously a very, very big and very real discussion. And I'll caveat the rest of this whole answer. Like, there are infinite causes and reasons and individual nuance that goes into your mental health. And so the rest of my thoughts and answers and solutions here are, I'm not going to pretend to be able to say, some blanket statement that is broadly, I can only broadly speak here and only give kind of overarching themes and stuff here. So I'm not going to pretend that everything that I say is going to specifically 100% individually apply to you. But broadly speaking here. So just to caveat that whole thing here. Fitness improves your mental health. We know this. It is no longer up for debate. All of the anecdote, all of the science, the rigorous science and evidence-based approaches all show this, and in many cases, exercise outperforms medical interventions by a fair margin. So we know this, and you probably know this as well. This can't be news to you. Starting is the hard part, and I think like that is also obvious. And the solution is that it's not helpful to say like, hey, we'll just do that. It'll help you. Like, of course, again, shouldn't be news to you, so you should know this. But how do you start? I think the key is to start wherever you are. You don't have to, if mental health is the big thing for you, and there's probably many factors, and maybe it's all of these to some degree. You don't have to be a hero in the gym and go in there and be a pro athlete and be the biggest guy in the gym and super jacked, and you don't have to be that. You just have to start where you are and build up. So if all you can muster is getting out of bed and walking up your own stairs in your house, not even leaving the house, and do that like 10 times in a row, great. Then start there. And then maybe you can, you walk a lap around the backyard, or a couple laps around the backyard. You start with walking, or start with doing push-ups in your bedroom. Like, it doesn't even matter what you start with. It just matters that you start. And then you can start to feel some better effects, and you let the motivation build that way. Like, motivation itself is kind of I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't think that saying that we struggle with motivation is the right word. And maybe this is just being like picking on semantics, but I always pay attention to words because I write enough on like a lot on social media and talk on the podcast. And so the words we use matter. And so I think that motivation is not the right word, because oftentimes the person who's saying I struggle with motivation is also saying something like, I really want to get back into the gym. I want to get back into routine, but I just struggle with motivation. And it's like, well, you just said that you want to do that. And to me, that sounds like motivation. So I'm not sure that motivation is the thing that's missing here. Like maybe you need to light a fire under your butt and watch a Rocky montage training video and some David Goggins like yelling at you in the face or something like that, and just get you fired up to just get your butt out the door. Maybe you need that. Maybe that's the type of motivation that you need. But more concrete than that, I think what you really need is a plan, some accountability, and some incentive, or like skin in the game. I mean, a negative incentive, like a reverse incentive kind of thing. When you say that you want to go to the gym, but you struggle to stick to your routine and just get in there, it's like, well, what are you trying to achieve? What's your plan? Is there someone or something that you are being held accountable to? And what's at stake here? And what's at stake could be money, like paying for a coach. That's part of the advantage of hiring a coach, is that you have to pay for that coach. And then, you're like, hey, I'm paying a couple $100 a month. I don't want to just waste this. Like that's part of the coaching experience, is actually the fact that you're paying for it. You could be like, taking money out of an account and putting it in you pay it to your wife, or you do something that where it's like it's still yours, but it's like you just separate it into something else. You pay a buddy every time you skip the gym, something like that. It could be a deeper, and this kind of crosses back over into actual motivation, but like thinking about something a little bit deeper, like, hey, I want to be here for my kids. I want to do this, that, and the other thing. And so that's trickier. And again, that's going to be more individual as like an incentive. But have some skin in the game, or have something to reward yourself with. Like, hey, after I, be in the gym for 2 months consistently, I'm going to, buy myself a new shirt or a new pair of shoes, or, book a vacation, or book go to a show or a movie or a comedy show or something, like whatever thing you're into. Like you can use positive incentive in that as well. I remember actually as a kid, when Game Boys came out, like Game Boy Color, me and my brother wanted it. And so my parents made us, we had this like, my mom drew like just a chart with like 100 squares, like a 10 by 10 grid, put it on the fridge, and we would get a star in a box every time we like did little things, like we were ready in the morning, like got dressed by ourselves and ready in time to leave for school, or like brushed our teeth without having to be told, or what, I can't remember all the things, but like little chores for like little kids like that. And so after we did a bunch of stuff, we did all these things for however many weeks or whatever it took, and we got 100 stars, and then we went out and bought a Game Boy. And so that was like our incentive to do these good behaviors, because no kid wants to brush their teeth. Like, why do I care about this? Why do I care about, I don't even want to go to school. Why do I care about getting ready to go to school on time? Like, I don't care about those things as a little kid, but I want the Game Boy. And so you very quickly realize, like, okay, well, if I want the Game Boy, I got to get stars. How do I get stars? Be ready for school on time. Okay, great. Easy. I can do that. Brush my teeth without being told. Great. I can do that. Put my clothes in the hamper instead of on the floor. Great. I can do that. And so you incentivize behavior. And so you can do that to yourself as an adult. You can literally steal this star chart thing from my mom. You can stick a thing on your fridge or on your notepad or whatever beside your desk, put 100 stars on it, and like every day that you get to the gym, every day that you drink 2.5, 3 liters of water, every day that you get 10,000 steps, every day that you whatever, you put a star in, and you at the end of whenever you get 100 stars, then you get a thing that you've been wanting to get. And that's a way to kind of just like even convince yourself into doing these things. And so my point in saying this is that motivation is unlikely to be the true missing piece. It's just that you don't have a plan, you don't have accountability, and you don't have incentive. When you have a plan, nobody is motivated 100% of the time for fitness or for anything for that matter. I would say that, I, as a person whose job it is to be in fitness, and, others like me, my colleagues, the fitness motivation is not typically something that we struggle with. Like going to the gym is typically my favorite part of the day. But not every single day am I like so fired up to go work out. However, I have a plan. I have clear goals in mind. I have a accountability structure and an incentive structure for myself, so that some days, and I don't feel like it, it's just like, well, this is just what I have to do. Like in your job, you don't feel like going to work every day, but you just do it because that's the plan, that's the accountability, and there's an incentive structure there. Fitness can be treated the same. So you don't need to necessarily wait for motivation. It's kind of cliche to say, like, you don't need motivation, you need discipline, but it's cliche because it's true. Motivation is going to be the thing that sometimes is going to be there and sometimes it's not, but you can't rely on it because it's pretty hard to manufacture. So you can rely on manufacturing a plan. You can rely on manufacturing accountability. You can rely on manufacturing an incentive structure. And therefore, you just wake up and you do the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you just follow the plan as best as you can, as often as you can. And then once you start to see the gains, once you start to get the ball rolling, things are going to start, things are going to start falling in place, and you'll realize that the motivation builds that way, and you'll get more excited to keep doing the things. And then again, same thing. Some days you just won't be motivated, but you just do it anyways. And the more of those that you stack up, the better off you're going to be over time. So if you struggle with motivation, if you struggle with mental health, you have to try to quiet your emotions on this and get very logical and very practical about this. Develop a plan, develop an accountability structure, a person or a thing or a group or an app or whatever. I think an external person to you, someone outside of your family and friend circle is the ideal way, because it's harder to brush them off. But start with whoever you feel comfortable with, and having an incentive structure, whether that's paying someone, getting some skin in the game, or having a positive incentive structure of something to reward yourself with after X amount of time or X positive actions. That's the way to get yourself out of this rut, right? You have to have a plan of action rather than just like, hey, I'm not doing so great mentally. What do I do about it? I'm not motivated, so woe is me. It sucks, but things have to happen. You need to start to take action, and they can start very, 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 very small. And in fact, that's probably better. You start super small and build yourself up from there. So get a plan, get some accountability, get some incentive. I know I said that like 15 times in this answer, but I cannot state how important that is enough in order for you to get out of this rut and start making strides towards achieving your goal. So I'm here if you need to help. This is what I do. This is why I coach people. This is a huge part of coaching. It's basically the entire value structure of one-on-one coaching. The ins and outs of like the workout that I'll give you that's individualized to you, and the nutrition plan that's individualized to you is like, yes, I'm good at creating those things and all that stuff, but like it doesn't take a genius, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure those things out. Like, that's not the hard part. Getting you to stick to the plan and follow through on the plan is the hard part, and that's where the value of coaching is. So just to say, reach out to me if you need, or whatever. Number 5, and we're getting towards the end here. Man, sometimes I'm impressed at how long these go, and just me talking to myself. If you guys never talk to yourself in a camera for like half an hour with like only a few notes written down, it's a strange feeling, but it gets oddly familiar after a while. Number 5, injuries was the last one. Super tough. I certainly empathize with this because I am always been injured. I'm basically the most injured person that I know. Maybe there's a couple of people who I've had more injuries than myself. But yeah, pretty crazy, and definitely really sucks a lot. To some degree, yes, this is a huge hurdle, of course, but at the same time, you have to deal with it, and you got to just move on. The injuries that you have are not going to go away on their own, and you need to be aggressive, or at least active in addressing it. Go to physio, get it looked at by a professional. Work around it. Do if you can't do lower body, do upper body. If you can't play this sport, play that sport. Whatever the case is, like, you got to do stuff to get around it, because if you don't, it's only going to get worse. And let's fast forward this a little bit. Like, are you really going to be, really going to end up being, 62 years old? You're overweight, you're diabetic, you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're on the verge of having a heart attack because you sprained your ankle when you were 28 and you just like never dealt with it and never went to the gym again. Like that's what happens if this doesn't get dealt with and you play the tape forward a little bit. So I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous, but that happens all the time. A little thing happens and it derails you, and then that little thing becomes a huge thing and it becomes the rest of your life, and then it ends your life. Not okay. So we need to stop that here. You need to be active in your recovery, ease back in. You're not in a race to anywhere. This is the other thing. Little, nicks and stuff that you get on your body and pains and stuff, like it's going to happen. It's normal. It's part of life. It's part of training. It's part of playing sports. You don't have to be a hero. You're not racing to anywhere. There's no finish line to this. The finish line is like when you die. Like that's it. We don't finish fitness. You just keep going for forever. You're not 18 anymore, and you definitely don't still got it. You can get it back, but right now, if you're struggling, you definitely don't still got it. I'm sorry to tell you. I don't either. You just definitely don't. You got to ease back into it. You go slow. Take some time. Take some patience. But the main thing to remember here is two things. The people who are the most fit, like for the longest amount of time, and you look at guys in their 50s or 60s and they're like, oh yeah, that guy's in good shape. He's just fit and healthy. The most impressive thing is that they've been in the gym or been in exercising and whatever for the longest amount of time. It's not that impressive to be the guy who went super hard for 2 months and then, took the rest of the year off. And then in 2 years, he got back into it again and dialed in for 6 weeks. Like, bro, I'm locked in. I'm dialed in for 6 weeks. And then you fall off the face of the earth. You'll never impress yourself. You'll never impress anyone else. And you'll never be truly fit and healthy by doing that. The name of the game is staying in the game for as long as you can. And taking a little bit of a slower and steadier approach is going to be the way to do that. There are times to push hard and all that stuff. But overall, you can't just be going guns blazing, getting in there. And especially if you haven't been in there for a while, you got to ease yourself back in, because injuries do suck and they are going to happen, but you don't want to create an environment where they're more likely to happen than they need to. The other thing is that you need to keep the main goal. And what I mean is this: you're going into the gym trying to be fit, trying to be healthy, trying to feel good, trying to get out of some pain, and you're trying to be decently lean and jacked. You're not going into the gym trying to have the biggest bench press, the heaviest deadlift, the fastest 5K time, or you're not trying to be a hero in the gym or by going to the gym. So keep the main thing instead of chasing, not to demonize any exercise, and I don't think there are any exercises that are strictly off the table based on age or based on anything. But if barbell bench press just doesn't feel right to you, then don't do it. Do dumbbells, use a machine, do something else. Do push-ups, there's plenty of other things you can do. There are no specifically necessary exercises. And so if there's an exercise that doesn't feel right for you, it just, you can never get the form down, or if just for whatever reason, it's just it bugs your shoulder or your back or your knee or whatever, just don't do it. There's no reason to do it. You keep the main thing. The main thing is to be fit, healthy, decently lean, decently jacked. Not to have the biggest bench press, not to have the biggest squat, biggest deadlift, fastest 5K, whatever the thing is. Keep the main thing. Keep that in your mind, and keep the long game in mind, because the name of the game is, the person who wins the game is whoever stays in the game the longest. That's how you win the game of fitness. If you want to make it a competition and make it about that, whoever stays in the game the longest is the person who wins, not whoever goes hard for 2 months. Nobody cares about that. And in fact, people whatever, not even worth saying it. But it's just not a good look. It's not good for you, and it's not good for anyone else, and no one cares about that. You got to stay in the game for a long time. So keep the main thing, and just ease back in. Be aggressive and be active about your rehab when you do have injuries, and just take things slow and steady, because you're in a race to nowhere. If you are a woman listening to this, which I would imagine just based on the title and whatever, there's like, less women than usual. Listenership of this podcast is probably like pretty close to my like client roster right now. It's like around 60-40 men to women ish. But anyways, if you are a woman listening to this, I'm sure a lot of this resonates as well, because I mean, at the end of the day, like people are just people. Men and women will frame their fitness struggles differently based on like the context of their life and general themes and maybe psychological thoughts and pressures and stuff like that. But like when we really break down what the hurdles are, what the struggles are, like they're kind of all the same, and the solutions are often the same as well. The biggest differences are actually like individual to individual, not necessarily between the sexes. Like my approach with my male and female clients only differs based on the individual differences between those two people, not because one is a man and one is a woman. Like if I have two men, I will treat them, the difference in the way that I coach them would be the same as if I was coaching a man and a woman. And it's just because of individual differences, like anatomy and physiology and stuff. Like, yes, there are some minor differences, but like it's not that much that there needs to be drastic differences between your approach to training, to nutrition, to recovery, to any of those things. More of the differences are going to be down to individual differences in your lifestyle and your life situation and your injury and exercise history and all that stuff. So regardless, your struggles are valid, and they're never going to go away. But it doesn't mean that fitness progress and living a healthy lifestyle is impossible, or mean that you should give up. This is kind of I go back and forth on how helpful this is to say, but it's like there are people in worse situations than you who have better outcomes than you. And sometimes it sounds kind of shitty, but sometimes it's like if they can do it, then that must mean that it's not impossible for me to do it. And that's the way that I think about it personally. And so that's why I think it's a little bit helpful. But understanding that, hey, this is not impossible. It's hard, and that's okay, and that's valid, but it's just like you can do this. There are solutions to these things. So, don't give up on them. Work on solutions. If everyone in the world threw their problems in a big bucket and you had the chance to reach in and pick out any one of those problems, you would pick your own. You'd pick your own problems. So accept it for what it is. Look for solutions instead of focusing on the problems, and you will start to get ahead. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I appreciate you listening. Always make sure you're sending this to your friends who are struggling, who need help, or who are looking for coaching, or who just in a rut with their fitness, or you just think it's some good content and you want to share it with them as a good thing. Please send it. Means the absolute world to me, and just getting this message out there more and more is really what this whole thing is all about. So I appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, ratings and reviews, all those good things. As always, stay tuned for the next one. Go outside. Be a good person.